In Vedic scriptures, the teacher is looked upon as the embodiment of knowledge, as God incarnate.
It's nearly 125 years ago that imparting education came into our family. My grandfather was a gold medalist more than 130 years ago. And then he went on to become the headmaster for Gurukul school. This is really how it all started. Then there were 4 brothers, their children, my father, my sister. If you look at this set of 4 houses, that produce at any one given time 16 to 20 teachers. So we used to be known as teachers' family. Master Kutum, as they said in Gujarati. My father was a teacher in one of the best schools in Mumbai, one of the 2 or 3 best schools. And he was very much under the influence of Mahatma Gandhi. In fact, he went for Quit India movement as well. And Gandhiji used to say, India lives in villages. So when the school was coming up at Kharel, he was invited to be the principal, founder principal of that school. And he got an opportunity to come back to the village, which is the roots of our family. And he decided that he will move to Kharel as a principal. Of course, my mother was not very happy about it. I was too small to understand this, such a big change which was taking place in our life. And we came back in 1952. I think ever since, whole life of his went in serving the poor people.
Having studied at the primary school, young Naik soon moved to the school where his father was the principal.
Our school was not a center for SSC exam, so we had to go to nearby town. So I went to Billimora to give my SSC exam. And suddenly I started to feel curious about seeing movies. So I went and saw one movie while the exams were going on. And the exam bell used to be at 10 minutes to 6. And I used to walk away 1 or 2 minutes before that 10 to 6. And used to go on 6 o'clock show. My father and mother and everybody got worried. So my mother, in fact, came searching for me in one of the theaters in those days, you know, because they were all very concerned. But in spite of being very cautious, he sent me to Vallavidhyanagar where there were no movie theaters. Obviously, little that he knew that one side was Baroda and one side was Ahmedabad, and that gave ample opportunities to see as many movies as you want. And I ended up in the first year seeing 105 movies.
Showing the steely resolve that would mark him out in later life, he buckled down when it mattered and passed his engineering exams with flying colors.
I finished my engineering. I suddenly realized that I think the days of being a student are over. Now you have to come to real life.
From the beginning, he wanted to join Larsen Toubro, his dream company. He couldn't get in because he was not from IIT, so he joined a small Parsi firm, Nestor Boiler, where he quickly became workshop supervisor.
Then one day, there was an advertisement from Larsen Toubro, and I saw it, and it was very appropriate for me and with my experience. So I applied, and my interview was with Mr. Baker, right in this building on the first floor. And he interviewed me, let's say, after about half an hour. He offered me a job of 760 rupees salary, assistant engineer. But he said to me, you will have to meet also the old man. So I was brought down to this very office. I mean, what a coincidence. Exactly 50 years back, I was here because my interview was in November 1964. and we are now in November 2014. Mr. Baker introduced me to Mr. Hansen. Mr. Hansen used to be very stern and hardly ever smiled. On the other hand, Baker was very jovial, but very tough man and taskmaster. So amongst many questions that Mr. Hansen asked me, one of them was, how many people report to you? That was his rhythmic English. And I said about 350. So he said, oh, that's a lot. 350 people is a lot. You won't get this responsibility for a long time in Larsen Toubro. So again I thought in Gujarati, again I converted in English. If you talk in Gujarati, it doesn't look so bad. But I just ended up saying, who knows, time will tell. And within a second, he asked me to leave the room. Mr. Baker came out within few seconds, grumbling and mumbling. And then he took me back into his office and explained to me that Mr. Hansen thinks I am overconfident. And therefore, he has advised me to give you 670 and not 760. Assistant engineer, instead of that, junior engineer. So I was downgraded in the cadre, in the salary, and in the grade, all three. Within matter of half an hour. And Mr. Baker was feeling little apologetic about it. And I said, don't you worry, Mr. Baker. It was my dream in the college that I wanted to join Larsen Toubro. So I'm joining anyhow.
Though he joined as a junior engineer, Anil Naik's rise in the company was meteoric. He got that promised assistant engineer's job in 6 months, then another promotion, then yet another. Just 18 months after joining, Naik was workshop in charge with 800 people reporting to him.
You know, when I was given the charge of the workshop, people advised me not to come to workshop beyond 7 o'clock because the workers were troublesome, notorious. In fact, few months before, one of the foremen was knifed. They used to slow down the work at the close of the shift nearly an hour before.
So he began to drop in well before the close of the shift and stand near the attendant's punching machine.
They soon realized that this person is giving his life for the company and we should not feel bad about he doing his duty. Within 2 years, I was one of the most respected and liked person by the workers. I mean, you have to treat all the people you work with, whether workers or officers, as your extended family.
Soon after I got married, I realized that my husband was so dedicated, so committed to L&T that I was sort of a second wife to him. L&T was the first.
Only an unusual company would command such unstinted loyalty. And right from its inception, Larsen & Toubro has been singularly different. Naik's first 2 decades at L&T had their ups and downs. But towards the end of that period, he was influencing major strategic decisions.
It created confidence in us. Here is a chap who we need and who can do more. Whenever Naik saw there is an opportunity, he said, we are not going to lose the opportunity. We take the opportunity. To have that attitude of mind. Hum karenge.
You know, I joined Powai Heavy Engineering in 1965. Within 10 years, we began to realize that we are now getting into limitation because of its size and Powai being landlocked. So we started looking for a spot which will have a waterway to the world so that we can export big size equipment, move them around the coast and have no limitation.
L&T's heavy engineering facility at Hazira is today among the 5 largest and best equipped such facilities in the world. Manufacturing vital equipment for chemical plants and refineries, nuclear reactors, and ultra-large equipment.
I think it is by any measure, a pride of an Indian. And it's far exceeded my own thinking that time and my own vision.
The Naik is a bold person. He is not hesitant. Basically, he is a person who was not uncomfortable with risk, carrying risk, managing risk.
If Hazira is the muscle of L&T, Knowledge City at Vadodara is its brain.
You know, L&T always made a lot of equipment. Every time I used to pass by the power plant, I used to see why we can't do it, though we can make equipment for that. And so I started thinking about building the whole plant. And we thought manufacturing is Hazira. Why not make Baroda an engineering and a knowledge city for L&T?
Naik's vision is that 20,000 engineers would work here, conceptualizing and designing power plants of all kinds, working on engineering plans of complete refineries in every detail, offering complex technology and engineering services for projects all over the world.
Every major international companies, they go through 3 phases in their lifetime. There is a strategy phase when they face a crisis. There is a growth phase post the crisis. And at the end of the cycle is a consolidation phase. But in Larsen Toubro, this has happened in the last 15 years or so, during the stewardship of the company by Mr. Naik. In 2001, when I joined the board, we were going through a crisis.
I was called upon to mediate in an issue in which L&T was in a difficult situation to deal with third-party shareholding. That challenge, which was some kind of a security risk for L&T, was transformed into a security ring for L&T in an unprecedented manner. And the idea was the outside shareholding should become the shareholding of the employees themselves. This restructuring, which is unprecedented in the history of India, transformed L&T into a totally different organization as it is today. It is a global major. It would not have been possible but for this restructuring, which was a very original idea of Mr. Naik himself. In this, the qualities of his leadership flew from the sense of his ownership of the company, which was much more than the sense of ownership of a promoter of his own company. He stood apart completely, outspoken, transparent, courageous, willing to take risks. These are all something which made me a person who doesn't normally admire people very easily, a great admirer of Mr. Naik.